I'm Samantha Vadas in Hong Kong and welcome to View TV News. Coming up on tonight's show. Chaos breaks out in Legco as Andrew Leung announces a deadline next week for lawmakers to vote on the controversial extradition law amendment bill. And businesses, students and their parents threaten to strike tomorrow, calling for the scrapping of the bill. And a senior Huawei executive appears before UK lawmakers, insisting that the tech giant is independent as the UK mulls over a decision to allow Huawei to supply part of the 5G network in the country. Well, thank you for joining us. First up tonight, scuffles broke out once again in Legco after the government sped up the passage of the highly controversial extradition bill. The Legco president set the deadline for lawmakers to vote on the bill next Thursday. He also announced authorities are blocking demonstrators from using a protest zone on Legco grounds. Ryan Chang has the story.
Lawmakers from the pro-democracy camp surrounded and hounded Legco President Andrew Leung, cutting short his press conference this afternoon. That's after Leung announced 3 arrangements ahead of the second reading of the bill. First, the bill would be allocated 61 hours of time for lawmakers to scrutinize and 5 hours for questions. That would put the deadline for the voting period to next Thursday, June the 20th.
Other bills, which were more complicated, that had more public attention than this one, had less discussion time. Compare it to last year's co-location arrangement bill. We reserved 36 hours for it and debated it in 38 hours. The 66 hours we've allocated for this is quite generous.
Leung also announced that Legco's secretariat had barred protesters from using the enclosed area. Also known as the Drum, the protest zone was a scene of chaos early Monday morning as riot police forcibly evicted demonstrators after their permission to gather there expired at midnight.
Legco was the target of radical attacks on Sunday. The situation was chaotic, and some demonstrators carried weapons that could cause harm. Since the bill will resume its second reading tomorrow, I predict that Legco's security staff will face more serious threats, and a number of lawmakers have voiced their concerns.
Leung also revealed that Chief Executive Carrie Lam's monthly question and answer time, scheduled for tomorrow morning, will also be postponed to a later unspecified date. Ahead of today's Executive Council meeting, Lam said authorities will introduce an additional 14 human rights safeguards at tomorrow's reading through a policy address. Though she said they won't be written into law to maintain flexibility for future fugitive transfers.
Well, the government may be pushing on with the extradition law amendment, but many who are against it continue to fight on. Businesses, unions and students have all pledged to go on strike and disrupt the city's normal operations. And Chung has the details.
The government's push to table amendments to the extradition law tomorrow has sparked backlash from across all sectors. Businesses, unions and students have all pledged to strike to disrupt the city's normal operations. Anxieties are boiling over the potential law changes, which could allow people to be surrendered over the border to face uncertain justice. With calls to join a rally outside the Legislative Council, a group of secondary students have started a petition asking for a citywide student strike. Reports say students in more than 72 secondary schools have also started their own separate petitions to skip school, even when some of them have exams tomorrow. Some parent groups have also made arrangements for their kids to skip lessons tomorrow. Nearly 4,000 teachers also pressured the Professional Teachers Union to declare strike action. Concerned principals and heads of secondary schools issued a counter-statement saying they don't agree to the calls for school strikes or boycotting classes. The chief executive also weighed in to express her concern over calls to besiege the Legislative Council. She warned that there are consequences to more radical actions.
If they push young people to the front line to take more radical actions, what good will this do for Hong Kong society? What good will that do for younger people? Especially since we've witnessed more radical actions in the past few years, and court judgments have shown that violating laws have consequences. These consequences have a very big impact on any young person or adult.
Shops and businesses are also closing up to protest the amendments. And just before noon today, more than 1,700 employees of the city's aviation industry have signed a statement asking their unions to announce a strike. More than 40 social welfare and religious groups have also announced they're striking on Wednesday.
Well, on the other hand, the bill's garnered support from the leader of the Liberal Party, Felix Chung. On a radio program earlier today, Chung said while it's certain the bill will get passed, he suggests postponing the implementation of the changes to the law until it's been fully revised. He added he respects protesters, but said the government is risking losing its authority over the controversial bill. He estimated around 600,000 to 700,000 people protested on Sunday.
I have followed this bill for a long time and I know the impact. The government has accepted the suggestions we put to them. 70 to 80% of our friends in the commercial sector think it's not a big problem. If we cave in the next time there is an ordinance that foreign countries feel unhappy with, we will be forced to give in and retract the bill again. There will be no governance.
Well, Democratic lawmaker Ted Hui has been slapped with 240 hours of community service and a $3,800 fine. That's for snatching a security officer's phone and examining its contents at Legislature last April. Hui was surrounded by supporters as he arrived outside Eastern Magistrates for his sentencing today. Last month, he was found guilty of common assault, obstructing a public officer and accessing a computer with criminal or dishonest intent for snatching the phone. Today, the judge said though the victim said she was frightened, what happened wasn't serious and she was not physically hurt. Hui was shown leniency because he showed remorse and promised not to commit the offence again.
I hope everyone will stop focusing on this case. My gain or loss is insignificant. With this case having ended today, I hope everyone can refocus their attention, energy and time towards the battle against the extradition law.
Well, turning to international news now, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that the murdered half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was a CIA informant and was killed while on his way to meet with an agency contact. Let's get more on that from our correspondent in Seoul, Joseph Kim.
Yes, it seems there's more drama surrounding Kim Jong-nam, who's not only the half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, but was also assassinated, as the Wall Street Journal reports that he was an informant for the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency. The Journal, as well as Washington Post's Anna Fifield in her new book, cite their own single source that says there's a link between the CIA and Kim, though the details of that relationship isn't fully disclosed. Now, if this turns out to be true, it could somewhat be significant, but sourcing information out of North Korea has historically been very difficult given how secretive the country is and how there's very few practical measures to confirm any reports. This is why we recently even saw the reports of Kim Jong-un carrying out massive purge of top North Korean officials that turned out to be untrue. With that said, Kim Jong-nam was assassinated in 2017, with South Korean and U.S. officials suggesting that North Korean authorities orchestrated his murder as Kim Jong-un was trying to consolidate power. Now, Pyongyang has denied these claims, and the two women charged with poisoning Kim Jong-nam were eventually freed. But it has been confirmed that Kim Jong-un executed his uncle Chang Song-taek in 2014, with North Korean state media saying that he was executed because Chang was trying to overthrow the government.
The UK's ruling Conservative Party says 10 candidates have been nominated to succeed Theresa May as British Prime Minister. Among those in the running, Boris Johnson, Michael Gove and Jeremy Hunt. The contest will be decided in late July and will bring in a new leader who could pursue a cleaner break with the European Union. Lauren Anthony reports on the process of electing the UK's next PM.
Theresa May stepped down as leader of her Conservative Party, triggering the contest to find her replacement.
Are you going to be the next Prime Minister?
That person automatically becomes Britain's next Prime Minister. Their challenge will be to pick up the reins on Brexit. So how does the process work? Reuters' William James.
There are a lot of people who want to be Britain's next Prime Minister, and the process of choosing the Prime Minister is split into two stages. The first takes place here in Westminster. That's designed to slim the field down to the last two. Once you've got the last two, comes the second stage, which is where the choice is put to the members. There are around 160,000 members of the Conservative Party all over the country. They get to vote by post and have the final say on who they want. In the first round of voting here in Westminster, you have to have at least 8 backers. If you don't have 8, then you don't make it through the first round. There are other rules at the next round of voting. If you don't have enough people, you get kicked out. It's all designed to whittle the big long list down to 2 as quickly as possible.
Out means out!
The Conservative membership, which will get the final say on who the Prime Minister is, are largely thought to be in favour of Brexit. They're thought to be almost in favour of a no-deal Brexit, a lot of them. So that means that there is a lot of talk about the next Prime Minister has to be someone who backed Brexit originally. Theresa May was seen as a Remainer, and she was never forgiven by some in her party for voting against Brexit. So the view is that the next Prime Minister has to be somebody who backed Brexit so they don't run into the same problems that Theresa May did.
At the end of the process in late July, Theresa May's time at 10 Downing Street officially comes to an end.
To serve the country I love.
Until then, she'll act as the country's caretaker Prime Minister.
A rare deal for congressional Democrats on Monday in their investigation of President Donald Trump. The US Justice Department has agreed to hand over more evidence from Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia inquiry. Nathan Frandito has more.
I am pleased that we have reached an agreement to review at least some of the evidence underlying the Mueller report.
After a long and bitter standoff, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler and the Justice Department reached a deal Monday, giving members of Congress access to key evidence from Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia investigation.
That this material will be made available without delay to members of the committee on both sides of the aisle.
Nadler said the DOJ will give the panel underlying documents on whether President Donald Trump had obstructed justice in the course of Mueller's probe. The agreement delays for now the Democrats' planned vote on whether to find Attorney General William Barr in contempt of Congress after he defied their subpoena to hand over that evidence along with an unredacted copy of the report. The news came hours before Nadler's committee held a hearing featuring John Dean, the former aide whose testimony during the Watergate scandal helped topple former President Richard Nixon. Dean told the committee he saw numerous parallels between Mueller's report and Watergate.
Special Counsel Mueller has provided this committee with a roadmap. I think there is evidence, incidentally, in the report of collusion.
Republicans heaped scorn on the hearing.
This committee is now hearing from the 70s, and they want their star witness back.
John's been a loser for a long time. We know that. I think he was disbarred, and he went to prison. Other than that, he's doing a great job.
Monday's hearing reflects one front in a broad battle between Trump and congressional Democrats who are investigating his policies, conduct in office, and business dealings. Democrats remain sharply divided on whether to launch impeachment proceedings against the president. Some are pushing to begin the process now, but others, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, are urging caution with an eye on polls showing Americans do not strongly favor impeachment.
Time for a break now, but do stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
It's a very unique place.
You can speak what you want, you can dress what you want.
I think the spirit is always there.
我唔覺得係樂觀，我覺得係我唔服輸嘅心態。我想證明俾你睇，我得咯。
I used to cry